Is it all's well that ends well as far as Trudeau's India trip is concerned and this entire visit? To talk more on this, I'm joined now by Rajiv Bhatia, Distinguished Fellow at Gateway House. Thank you so much for speaking with us, Mr. Bhatia. Key takeaways from the visit, which has been marked by a number of reports of diplomatic blunders and perhaps a cold shoulder that India allegedly gave to Trudeau when he arrived here. Has anything substantial come out of it?
I think we should be clear that a lot had been invested in this visit, particularly by the Canadian side. And as far as India was concerned, it had tried to match the enthusiasm, and there has been a strong effort to bring it to a successful end. But to be quite fair and realistic, we have to recognize that the domestic political considerations of Canada did have a somewhat negative impact on the visit. The Khalistan issue put a stress on the relationship. But I would like to highlight that this relationship, India-Canada relationship, is not a one-issue relationship. And therefore, we have to look at the larger picture. The larger picture suggests that a lot is already going on between the two countries in the field of trade and economic cooperation, investment, science and technology, energy, and other fields. And on top of that, I think the people-to-people relationship is getting strengthened as well. So I would say that it seemed to us that Prime Minister Trudeau was focusing a little bit more on the people-to-people pillar and also the business-to-business pillar. And with regard to the government-to-government relationship, it seems the perception is that already a great deal of conversations have taken place earlier. And that now this red line which has been laid down by India very aptly and with full emphasis, that I think is a critical takeaway for the Canadian delegation as they would head home tomorrow after the end of the visit.
Right, Mr. Bhatia, it's interesting you brought up those points because for the past week we've been seeing how, the narrative has been that Justin Trudeau's visit has gone from bad to worse, and these are things which are being judged more from a PR standpoint. But when it comes to hard talk, and especially the last 2 days of his visit, which was substantial in terms of, the cooperation between the countries and also talk about investments and trade, you do think that, if we were supposed to, judge it on a report card, it was a successful visit largely.
I would respectfully disagree. I think our assessment is that it is a reasonably successful visit. It could have been even more so if perhaps the program had been designed a bit differently. Had it started off with the political level summit in Delhi and then the rest of things would have followed, then the Canadian delegation may have probably escaped some criticism that it received within Canada itself. With regard to the sensitivity of India on the Khalistan issue, I think the Canadian leader will return home with a very clear, sharp perception that there is a strong sensitivity, strong sentiment in India, not just in the government, but in the nation at large.
A lot of this visit has been dominated by perhaps Trudeau's political concerns back home, and he was speaking to a home audience. In that context, how do you think that this visit will be viewed? Because a lot of criticism of Trudeau's India visit has also come from Canada. Commentary that, he was here for a week on taxpayers' money, of course, and what really came out of it. How will this visit feed into his domestic constituency?
Well, you see, I think I've been following this, the reactions within Canada, and I said right in the beginning that the domestic political considerations of Canada have had some impact. But, I have been closely watching this visit, I've attended 2 or 3 events. I've seen Prime Minister Trudeau in action. I would like to say this in an objective manner, that he did extreme hard work in order to connect with the people of India. Between him and his ministers, they covered 9 cities of Canada. It is estimated by the Canadian diplomatic sources that in terms of the people addressed, interacted or met, this delegation reached out to about 10,000 Indian people. The Prime Minister himself has claimed and asserted that, investment both ways as a result of this visit is likely to exceed $1 billion. And I think by visiting some of the prominent tourist and other places of educational and cultural importance, the Prime Minister's delegation has projected India and its diversity and its richness back to the Canadian people. So this will definitely go down well with the Indian community, and I hope the larger Canadian community, because Canada is not all that well known in India. So I humbly disagree to those who claim that, it is not a successful visit. I would say it is a reasonably successful visit, despite some of the things I wish had been avoided.